it might seem really weird to be thinking of your next set of crops you're going to plant when your garden is at the prime of producing, and also the fact that it's still, at least here, 90 some degrees. But this is exactly the time of when you need to start thinking about your fall garden. There are many benefits to doing a fall garden. First of all, you won't have to be outside working in the heat like right now during our summer garden times. Also, you'll have to water less. So actually the fall garden is a lot less maintenance compared to your summer garden. Another big thing is pests. The pest pressure is really reduced in the fall. And so a lot of things maybe that you didn't have success earlier in the year, you could very well grow successfully in your fall garden. There are a few things you're going to need to get started. First, something that is super critical to your fall garden is knowing your first frost date. Now this is an approximate date that you will have your first frost. Keep in mind, it's an estimate and can absolutely be weeks, early or late. So there's always a little bit of risk, but that's just what gardening is. To find this out, you can simply just Google first frost date for either your zip code or your town. Now, once you get that first frost date, go ahead and calculate the days between today's date and then that first frost date, and this will give you how many days you have left in your growing season. Now this is really important because when you're looking at what to plant, look at the seed packets and see how many days that particular variety needs to mature, because you're going to need to know that to determine if you have enough time to reasonably expect a harvest from what you're going to plant in your fall garden. I don't know if you can see behind me here, but it's getting pretty dark. We have had rain and storms for the last few days off and on, which has been great. We needed rain so bad. And actually we could use a lot more rain. So if that comes this way, I'll be totally happy. One more really good piece of advice to keep in mind is that with fall crops, usually they're going to take a little longer to mature than what it actually says on your seed packet, just because we're dealing with cooler temperatures and shorter days. So let's talk about starting your seeds inside versus direct sowing them into your garden. Now, you're going to have to kind of make a decision on, what you want to start inside, because those are typically things that need to be started earlier than maybe the things that need to be direct sown. For example, I am starting broccoli and kohlrabi inside, and I'm going to be starting those now, or this week actually, because those need more time to mature. But if I were to put them outside in the garden right now, while we're still having 90-degree temperatures, first of all, the germination would be really poor. And secondly, what did come up is just going to bolt or go to seed very quickly. And then you need to consider things like radishes or different kinds of greens. Typically, those are going to mature quickly. So don't plant them right now. Wait a few weeks. Actually, I am going to wait until about 5 weeks before my first frost date, and I'm just going to direct sow those out in my garden. And I'm doing that because those will bolt quickly. Again, go to seed. If I would put them out now, I'd get nothing, especially the radishes, and germination would be poor again. But they can actually tolerate cooler temperatures, and some of those, especially if you do some extra protection like a good layer of mulch or a row cover, those will actually go through some light frosts. Now, speaking of things that will go through light frost, a lot of vegetables that you're going to plant in the fall will actually benefit from going through frost or even a freeze, because it will actually make them sweeter to taste. For example, carrots, beets, radishes, parsnips, rutabagas, those kind of things are excellent if you let them go through some frost. There are also some kale varieties, and kale in general, that can really go far into the winter. So what I'm going to do this year is, with my kale, I'm going to actually put them under a row cover, and I'm going to see how far into my winter I can keep my kale growing. Now here's something super important that is often overlooked, and that's soil preparation. If you are planting your fall garden where all your summer crops have been growing, you know, that soil is gonna be depleted of nutrients. So what you need to do is you need to feed your soil and prep it before you put your fall crops in. So this is what I do when I come to plant my fall garden. Now simply when I remove the summer crop, I will remove all weeds, pull them up, all the weeds, get rid of them. Now I will probably have to till my garden. You may not have to. You may be at the point that your soil is really nice, it doesn't need tilled. Now here I have really heavy clay soil, and this has only been my first season using this area to garden. So I am fully prepared to have to till again this fall, at least maybe some of the areas. I have worse areas in my garden, and some of them are okay, but I may till. But I'm still gonna come in and I'm going to put in compost. I'm gonna add lots of organic material, and I'm probably gonna throw some fertilizer, just a general fertilizer, organic fertilizer into the soil as I mix it up. And also I'm going to go ahead and re-mulch my fall crops. So as soon as my seedlings come up and they get, you know, a couple inches tall, or the things that I'm transplanting out have some time to get settled and established, I will come back and I'm going to heavily mulch my fall garden. And actually, I'm going to mulch it probably twice as much as I did my summer garden, just because I'm trying to have things last as long as possible as the weather cools down. Another thing adding compost or organic material into your garden does is it will feed those microorganisms in your soil, which make for a healthy soil. You want that. And it also will improve the texture of your soil. The fall is also an amazing time to plant out perennial plants like trees and shrubs, even perennial herbs, because without that heat stress, the plants actually have a really good environment to set roots and prepare themselves for the winter, and will be healthy and happy the next year. Now it is true that a fall garden is less maintenance than a summer one. However, you need to remember to water, which can be hard to do as the temperatures cool down. Maybe you're not thinking so much about that, but your plants will need to be kept watered. You will need to still monitor for some pests and do some weed control. If you have never grown these ground cherries before, I highly recommend growing them. I come out here every day before my kids get home and I eat them. Delicious. Okay, is there anybody else that gets super excited when you get these in the mail? And especially because most of the time you get these in December, and that is exactly the time that you are ready to have some kind of garden inspiration in your life. Now these are ones that I got last December, and they are going to be the same catalogs that I have ordered all my fall seeds from. So, because the new catalogs for the next year are not out yet, won't be out till, you know, December-ish. So these are the same ones that I had, and I don't know. Okay, confession. I want to grow everything in these, but you know, sometimes you gotta dial it down a little bit. So this year I ordered some seeds both from Baker Creek and also from Botanical Interest, which I don't actually have a catalog for them. I actually discovered them this spring, and so I hadn't ordered a catalog, but I will next year. Now I also really like Seed Savers Exchange, and I have not ordered from this Territorial, but I would like to, and I probably will come next spring out of their new catalog coming out. But what I am going to be planting for my fall garden is, first I'm going to plant Celtis. I have never grown this, and I'll be real honest, I actually had never heard of it until I was looking at fall vegetables on Baker Creek's website. So I'm going to try that this year. Here's the broccoli I'm going to be planting rather soon. We in my area do not have a lot of success with broccolis and cauliflowers. Now you can grow them, but we battle pests. They tend to bolt really quickly. I personally have never had great success with those, but in the fall, they do much, much better here. And then I'm going to be planting rutabaga. I've not grown this one, but I'm very excited to, and people say they're absolutely delicious, and you kind of use them like a potato. Here's my kohlrabi. This one I'll be definitely starting inside. And then this Japanese mustard. Awesome. Parsnips. And something very popular across the sea, leeks. Now, these are the new ones I ordered. However, I do have carrots, beets, radishes, another kind of green mustard, and a spinach and tatsoi, which is an Asian green, that I already have seeds for, and so I'll be doing those as well. So when it comes to your fall garden, now is the time you need to plan. You need to get your seeds now. Like I said, I'm starting my indoor stuff probably within the next week. And again, I'm in zone 6B. And the other stuff, there's some things that are going to get direct sown mid-August, late August. And then radishes and stuff like that will be more like into end of August, probably more early September. So, but don't put it off. You guys, a fall garden is amazing. And if you haven't had success with your summer garden, do not let that put you off trying a fall garden. You very well may love fall garden more than summer gardening just because there are some definite perks to it. Now, if you have any questions, concerns, have any questions on these varieties, put it down in the comments. I would be happy to help and answer where I could. So we'll see you next time. What was I saying? Who knows?